Hey there, and welcome to the Deep Dive. We're diving into vitamins and minerals demystified today.
That's right. Gonna try to make sense of these essential nutrients.
Exactly, like what they do, where to find them, and, maybe learn some cool trivia along the way.
It's like having a treasure map to guide you to better health.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're starting with the water-soluble vitamins. I've always kind of wondered,
Okay.
what does water-soluble actually mean?
Well, it means these vitamins dissolve in water,
Makes sense.
and they're not stored long-term in the body. So you need a regular supply,
Right.
unlike some other vitamins that can kind of hang out for a bit.
Gotcha. So it's like you got to keep refilling the tank.
Exactly. Now let's talk about those B vitamins, the energy all-stars.
Oh, yeah.
They work as a team to convert food into energy.
Okay, I love that analogy.
Yeah.
So who's the MVP of this team?
Well, first up is B1, also known as thiamine, crucial for burning carbs.
Gotcha.
You could even call it the carbo burner. Now, here's a fun fact. A deficiency disease called beriberi,
Berry.
yeah, was linked to eating refined grains, like white flour.
Really?
Yeah, which eventually led to people realizing that whole grains are super important.
Huh. So this tiny vitamin helped us see the value in whole grains.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Right, and luckily it's found in tons of foods.
Okay, good. Like what?
Pork, soy milk, acorn squash, pistachios even.
Wow.
So just eating a balanced diet should give you enough thiamine.
That makes sense. But I've heard that cooking can destroy some vitamins. Is that true for thiamine?
Yeah, heat and water can affect it.
Ah,
So a helpful tip is to steam or stew your veggies instead of boiling
a
them.
good tip. Okay, who's next on our all-star team?
Okay, next up is B2 riboflavin.
Yeah.
This one's the fat burner. It helps your body use fats for energy.
Makes sense.
And as a bonus, it also acts as an antioxidant.
2 birds, 1 stone. Nice.
Exactly. And good sources for this are whole grains and leafy greens.
Writing that down. Now, what about B3?
B3, or niacin, is involved in energy from all 3 macronutrients.
No matter what you eat, it's there to help, huh?
That's right, a true team player. Though, fun fact, large doses of one form of it, nicotinic acid,
Okay.
can temporarily make your skin flush.
Wow, real.
It's harmless, but yeah.
That's wild. So niacin helps us feel the burn, but are there any downsides to not getting enough?
Yes, definitely. Deficiency can lead to a disease called pellagra.
Pellagra, okay.
It was a serious problem back in the day, but not so much now.
That's good.
And good sources of niacin are whole grains and nuts.
Got it. So what about biotin?
Biotin is the energy catalyst to make sure the whole energy production system runs smoothly.
Keeps the engine running.
You got it. And a fun fact about biotin, it was discovered when scientists noticed that animals fed only egg whites had skin problems.
Huh, interesting. So are there any problems if we don't get enough biotin?
Thankfully, no. Biotin deficiency is pretty rare.
That's good. Okay, what's the next B vitamin on our list?
Up next, we've got B5, also called pantothenic acid.
Okay.
This one's right in the center of energy. It's part of coenzyme A, which is central to energy production.
So it's like the core of the operation.
You could say that, but here's a food fact. It can be destroyed by freezing, canning, and refining.
Oh, wow. Good to know.
So fresh food is always best when you can.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, so we are on to B6.
That's right. B6, pyridoxine, helps break down protein for energy.
Protein burner.
Yep. It also helps with carbohydrate metabolism. Busy little guy.
Multitasking, just like the others. So anything we should know about B6 and how much we get?
Well, alcohol can actually deplete it.
Ah, so that's something to be aware of.
Definitely. And that matters because along with folate and B12, B6 helps to lower something called homocysteine.
Homocysteine.
Right. And high levels of that in your blood are linked to heart disease.
Oh, wow. So alcohol can mess with that balance. Interesting. So how can we get more B6?
Good sources are pistachios, chickpeas, and chicken breast.
Got it. And what about cooking methods? Any tips there?
Yeah, actually, B6 is easily destroyed by heat and can be lost in cooking water.
Okay.
So steaming or roasting are the best ways to cook those foods.
Awesome. Okay, next up is folate.
Yep. Folate, it's vital for DNA synthesis. You can think of it as the DNA creator.
So it builds the foundation.
Yeah, and it's crucial during those periods of rapid growth, like pregnancy.
I see. That makes sense. You mentioned earlier it had a connection with B12. How do they work together?
Well, both folate and B12 help to keep those homocysteine levels down, remember?
Yeah. Dynamic duo fighting heart disease.
That's right. Another important thing about folate is that a deficiency can lead to anemia
Anemia.
and problems with your GI tract.
Okay, so we need to make sure we are getting enough. Anything else we should keep in mind?
Yeah, high doses of the supplement form of folate, folic acid,
Okay.
can actually mask a B12 deficiency.
Huh, interesting.
So you got to make sure you're getting enough B12, especially if you're taking supplements.
Good point. Okay, so tell me a B12 then.
B12, copolymin, is essential for making red blood cells, so you can think of it as the blood
A
maker.
blood maker, okay.
But here's the thing, it needs a special intrinsic factor produced in your stomach to be absorbed.
It's like it needs a VIP pass.
Exactly. And a deficiency can lead to pernicious anemia and even nerve damage.
Yikes.
And the main sources of B12 are animal products.
Okay.
So if you're vegetarian or vegan, you've got to make sure to get it from fortified foods or supplements.
Right, that's super important.
Yeah.
Anything else about B12?
One more fun fact, microwave cooking can inactivate it.
Really? Wow, there you go. Never stop learning.
That's right.
Okay, we've talked a lot about the B vitamins. Can you summarize how they all work together?
Sure. So you have these tiny powerhouses inside your cells called mitochondria.
Mitochondria.
They are like little energy factories.
Okay.
Energy production happens in 4 main steps there.
Right.
And the B vitamins are crucial coenzymes in each step,
So they're all working together.
working together to activate the enzymes that drive these processes.
Teamwork makes the dream work. I love it.
It really is an incredible system.
It is. So we talked about B vitamins. Those are crucial for turning food into energy.
Mm-hmm.
But what about other water-soluble vitamins, like vitamin C?
Vitamin C, a jack of all trades. Crucial for collagen formation.
Okay.
And it's a powerful antioxidant.
So that means healthy skin, strong tendons,
All of that.
and blood vessels, right?
Exactly.
So what's the history behind vitamin C?
Well, the discovery of vitamin C and its link to scurvy is pretty fascinating.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day, scurvy was a huge problem.
Right, for sailors, right.
Exactly. Long voyages without fresh fruits and veggies.
I think I remember them thinking it was bad air that caused it, right?
Yeah, there were lots of theories, but eventually they figured out it was the lack of vitamin C.
Wow, makes sense.
And to get a bit technical, vitamin C is needed for a process called hydroxylation.
Hydroxylation.
Yeah, it's how the collagen building blocks are assembled correctly.
So it's like the construction manager,
Yeah.
making sure everything's in order.
Exactly.
And you mentioned its antioxidant power. How does that work?
Well, it neutralizes harmful free radicals that damage our cells and lead to aging and diseases.
So it's protecting us.
Protecting our cells, yep.
That's awesome. Okay, but the age-old question. Does vitamin C help with colds?
Well, it's not a cure-all, but research suggests it might reduce the severity and duration of symptoms.
So maybe not prevent it, but at least make it a bit easier to handle.
You got it.
Okay, so how do we get more vitamin C? I know fruits and veggies are key, but any tips?
Yeah, variety is really important.
Okay,
Different fruits and veggies have different amounts and types of vitamin C.
makes sense.
So eat the rainbow, right?
So true. But what about cooking? Does that affect vitamin C?
Yes, it's easily destroyed during storage and processing, so fresh is always best.
Makes sense.
And if you're taking a supplement, timed release, or splitting your dose throughout the day might be better for absorption.
Great tips. So fresh produce. And if supplementing, spread it out. Gotcha. We've learned so much from B vitamins to vitamin C.
We have.
Ready for those fat-soluble vitamins now.
Let's do it. But remember, unlike water-soluble vitamins, these are stored in your body fat.
Interesting. So we can actually stock up on these.
To an extent, yes. But there's a catch. Too much can be toxic. Moderation, as always.
Okay, balance is key. So who's first up in the fat-soluble vitamin lineup?
Let's start with vitamin A. It comes in many forms: retinol, retinoic acid, and beta-carotene, which is a precursor to vitamin A.
Wow, so vitamin A is kind of a shapeshifter, changes depending on the role.
In a way, yeah. Each form has its own function, but overall, vitamin A is all about vision, especially at night, cell growth, and immune function.
So it helps us see in the dark and fight off those nasty bugs. I'm liking vitamin A already. What about beta-carotene? How does that fit in?
Well, beta-carotene is a type of vitamin A found in plants, and it's a fantastic antioxidant.
Another antioxidant superstar.
And here's a cool fact. Retinoic acid, one of the forms of vitamin A, acts like a hormone, influencing gene expression.
Whoa, that's powerful. So it's a master regulator in our bodies.
Pretty much. But of course, not getting enough vitamin A can cause problems too.
Like what?
Well, it can lead to night blindness and even increase your risk of infections.
Oh, that's definitely not good.
Hmm.
So vitamin A for good vision and a strong immune system. But what about too much vitamin A? You mentioned toxicity earlier.
You're right. Toxicity is possible with excessive intake of preformed vitamin A, which is found in animal products.
So liver, for example.
Exactly. Moderation is key, especially with liver. But the vitamin A from plant-based foods is much safer in terms of toxicity.
Okay, so load up on those colorful fruits and veggies. They're packed with beta-carotene, right?
Exactly. Think carrots, sweet potatoes, spinach, kale, all great sources.
Got it. Colorful veggies for the win. All right, on to the next fat-soluble vitamin. What's next?
Vitamin D, also called the sunshine vitamin because our bodies make it with the help of sunlight.
Wait, we can make our own vitamin D. That's amazing.
It is. When your skin is exposed to sunlight, it converts a type of cholesterol into vitamin D.
So sunshine is our personal vitamin D factory. That's awesome. But I thought vitamin D was all about strong bones. How does sunlight fit into that?
Well, vitamin D is essential for absorbing calcium, which, you're right, is crucial for building and maintaining strong bones.
Ah, I see. So the sunlight helps us create vitamin D, which then helps us absorb calcium. Fascinating. But how exactly does sunlight make vitamin D?
When those UVB rays from sunlight hit your skin, they convert a form of cholesterol called 7-dehydrocholesterol into vitamin D. It's pretty amazing, right?
It really is. Our bodies are so complex. But what happens if we don't get enough vitamin D, either from the sun or our diet?
A vitamin D deficiency can cause rickets in children and in adults a condition called osteomalacia, both of which involve softening and weakening of the bones.
That's definitely not good. Strong bones need vitamin D. But what about those of us who live in places where sunshine is a rare commodity? How do we make sure we're getting enough?
Great question. If you're not getting enough sunlight, you can get vitamin D from certain foods like fatty fish, salmon, tuna. And fortified foods like milk and some cereals also have added vitamin D. And of course, there are always supplements.
Okay, so fish, fortified foods, and a little sunshine whenever possible. But what about getting too much vitamin D?
Well, it's rare to get too much vitamin D from sunlight. It is possible to overdo it with supplements. So, as always, best to talk to your doctor before starting any new supplements.
Good advice. Now, what about vitamin E?
Vitamin E is a powerful antioxidant. It protects your cells and even LDL cholesterol, the so-called bad cholesterol, from damage.
Ah, so it's like a shield for our cells, protecting them from harm.
Exactly. Vitamin E prevents those fats from becoming damaged, which can impact heart health.
That makes sense. And what about the name vitamin E? Anything interesting about that?
Actually, its name tocopherol comes from Greek words meaning to bear offspring.
Wow. So it was discovered to be important for fertility.
Well, in rats, at least.
Still interesting. Healthy fats for fertility. Where do we find vitamin E?
Nuts, seeds, and vegetable oils are all great sources.
Okay, so lots of plant-based options. And if you're supplementing, is there anything to keep in mind?
Yes, actually. Natural vitamin E, D-alpha tocopherol, is better absorbed than the synthetic forms.
Good to know. Natural vitamin E is the way to go. And how about vitamin E toxicity? Anything to worry about there?
Toxicity is pretty rare with vitamin E, but extremely high doses can increase bleeding risk.
Okay, so as you said, moderation is key.
Exactly.
All right, what's our final stop on this fat-soluble vitamin journey?
Last but not least, we have vitamin K. This one's crucial for blood clotting and bone health.
Two very important functions. So it helps our blood clot properly and keeps our bones strong.
Exactly. And here's a fun fact. Our gut bacteria can make vitamin K.
Our gut bacteria are so amazing. They're involved in so many things.
I really are. Essential partners in our health.
Totally agree. So beside our gut bacteria, where else can we get vitamin K?
Leafy green vegetables are your best bet. Spinach, kale, collard greens, they're all packed with vitamin K.
More leafy greens. They really are nutritional powerhouses.
They are.
Anything else about vitamin K? Any deficiency issues we should be aware of?
It's pretty rare in adults, but newborns are given a vitamin K shot at birth.
Really?
Yep, to prevent potential bleeding problems.
Interesting. So it's essential right from the start. All right, we've covered those fat-soluble vitamins.
We have.
Now on to macro minerals. What makes those so important?
Well, we need these minerals in larger amounts than trace minerals, hence the name macro.
Okay, so we're talking quantity here.
Yeah.
What kind of roles do these macro minerals play?
Oh, all sorts. Everything from fluid balance to bone health to nerve function.
Sounds important. So which ones are we going to talk about today?
Well, we're going to focus on those key players in fluid and electrolyte balance.
Okay.
You know, keeping us hydrated and making sure our nerves and muscles work right.
Right, so essential stuff. I'm always hearing about how important it is to stay hydrated, but what exactly are electrolytes?
Well, electrolytes are basically minerals that have an electrical charge when they're dissolved in fluids like our blood.
Okay.
The main ones are sodium, chloride, and potassium.
So they're like tiny conductors moving electricity around in our bodies.
You could say that. That electrical charge helps regulate fluid balance.
So that means things like blood volume and blood pressure are affected by those electrolytes.
Exactly. They even help transport nutrients to our cells. Pretty important, right?
Absolutely. Now, what about that term acid-base balance? I'm not quite sure what that means.
Sure. So acid-base balance means keeping the pH of our blood in the right range.
Okay.
Our blood needs to be in a specific pH range to function properly. Electrolytes, along with other systems, keep everything in check.
Got it. So electrolytes are like tiny regulators, keeping our blood pH balanced.
Exactly. They're constantly working to make sure our internal environment is stable.
It's incredible how our bodies do all that without us even thinking about it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about sodium.
Okay.
It gets a lot of negative attention. Why is that?
Well, sodium has a bit of a dual personality. On the one hand, it's an essential nutrient that helps with fluid balance, nerves, and muscles.
Right.
But on the other hand, too much sodium is linked to high blood pressure, a major risk factor for heart disease.
So it's a necessary but potentially troublesome kind of situation.
Exactly. We need some sodium, but most of us get way more than we need.
So how do we strike that balance? Where's all this extra sodium coming from?
The biggest culprit is processed food. They're often loaded with sodium.
So less processed food, more home cooking.
That's a great strategy.
Got it. Are there any natural sources of sodium we should be aware of?
Sure, unprocessed fruits, vegetables, and whole grains contain some sodium, but in much smaller amounts.
Okay, so those whole unprocessed foods are the way to go, getting the nutrients without all that extra sodium.
Exactly.
All right, what about chloride then? What role does it play?
Chloride often works alongside sodium. They're partners in crime when it comes to fluid balance.
Okay.
Think table salt, sodium chloride.
That makes sense. So chloride is mainly found bound to sodium. Anything else it does?
It also helps produce stomach acid, which is vital for digesting food.
Wow, so it's involved in both fluid balance and digestion, another multitasker. Okay, now I'm curious about potassium. I know it's good for our hearts, but how does it relate to sodium and chloride?
Well, potassium kind of acts as a counterbalance to sodium.
Oh, interesting.
It's involved in fluid balance, just like sodium, but it works to counteract some of sodium's effects.
So they're like opposites, but they work together to maintain that balance.
Precisely. Potassium helps lower blood pressure, which can be raised by too much sodium.
Okay, so potassium's the blood pressure superhero.
Yeah.
Where do we find this heart-healthy mineral?
Fruits, vegetables, beans, and nuts are all excellent sources of potassium.
Those nutritional superstars again, always coming to the rescue.
Right, they're the foundation of a healthy diet.
Absolutely. So it seems like when it comes to fluid and electrolyte balance, we need to make sure we're getting enough potassium to balance out all that sodium we might be getting.
You got it. It's all about finding that sweet spot.
Okay, balance is key. We've covered a lot about fluid and electrolyte balance.
We have.
Ready to move on to those bone-building minerals. I'm really interested in how our bodies create such strong structures.
Let's do it. And when it comes to bone health, calcium is the star of the show.
Calcium, the ultimate bone builder. I remember drinking lots of milk as a kid for strong bones. What exactly does calcium do?
You're right about calcium in strong bones. It's the most abundant mineral in the body, and most of it is stored in our bones and teeth.
So it's like the building block of our bones. But I know calcium does more than just build bones, right?
That's right. It's also essential for muscle contractions, blood clotting, and even nerve function.
Wow. So it's involved in a lot of processes.
Yeah.
How does our body manage all of that? How is calcium regulated?
Well, vitamin D and a hormone called parathyroid hormone work together to maintain the right balance of calcium in our blood.
Okay, so it's a team effort. What happens if our calcium levels get too low?
If we don't get enough calcium from our diet, our bodies can actually take calcium from our bones to maintain normal blood levels. Over time, this can lead to osteoporosis, which weakens the bones and increases the risk of fractures.
Oh, no. Definitely don't want that.
Yeah.
So dairy products are good for strong bones. What are some other good sources of calcium?
Leafy green vegetables are a good source, and some fortified foods like some plant-based milks and cereals also contain calcium.
Okay, so leafy greens and fortified foods, got it. What about getting too much calcium? Is that a problem?
It's rare to get too much calcium from food alone. But if you're taking calcium supplements, it's best to talk to your doctor about the right dosage.
Good advice. Always better to err on the side of caution. Anything else we should know about calcium?
Yes, actually. Did you know that having too much sodium and protein in our diet can increase how much calcium we lose through our urine?
Really? So even if we're eating calcium-rich foods, too much sodium and protein could be working against us.
Exactly. It highlights the importance of a balanced diet.
Balance is key. All right, now let's talk about phosphorus. What's phosphorus all about?
Phosphorus is another essential mineral that we find in large amounts in our bones and teeth.
Right, another bone-building mineral.
Exactly. It works together with calcium to keep our bones and teeth strong, but it's also involved in other important processes.
Oh, like what?
Well, it's essential for energy production. Remember ATP, that molecule that fuels our cells. Phosphorus is a key component of that.
Wow, so phosphorus is actually fueling our cells.
Yep, and it also plays a role in cell membranes, and it's part of DNA and RNA, the molecules that carry our genetic information.
Okay, so phosphorus is busy in our bodies. Where do we find this essential mineral?
Luckily, it's found in a wide variety of foods, so deficiency is pretty rare.
That's reassuring. So a balanced diet should cover our phosphorus needs.
Absolutely.
Great. Now, the last macromineral on our list, magnesium. How does it contribute to bone health?
Magnesium helps with bone formation and mineralization, working alongside calcium and phosphorus to keep our bones strong.
So it's part of that bone-building dream team.
Yeah.
But I also know magnesium is important for muscle relaxation, right?
You're right. Magnesium helps to counteract muscle contractions, promoting that feeling of relaxation.
So it's like the antidote to stress and tension. Where do we find this amazing mineral?
Leafy green vegetables, nuts, seeds, and whole grains are all great sources. And, it's involved in over 300 enzyme systems in the body.
Wow, over 300. That's incredible. Magnesium really is a multitasker.
It is.
Okay, so we've covered the macrominerals, but there's another category, right? Trace minerals. What makes them different?
Trace minerals are also essential, but we only need them in tiny amounts.
Ah, okay, so big things come in small packages. Tell me about those mighty trace minerals.
Well, we're going to talk about some of the most essential ones, starting with iron. This mineral is crucial for transporting oxygen throughout our bodies.
Iron. The blood builder. I remember learning about it in school, but I'd love to hear more about what it does.
Iron is the key component of hemoglobin, a protein found in red blood cells.
Okay.
Hemoglobin grabs onto oxygen in our lungs and carries it to all the tissues in our bodies.
So iron is like a delivery truck for oxygen, picking it up from the lungs and delivering it all over the body.
That's a great way to think about it.
That's essential for survival. What happens if we don't get enough iron?
Iron deficiency is actually the most common nutrient deficiency worldwide.
Wow, really?
It can lead to anemia, which makes you feel tired, weak, and short of breath.
Oh, that doesn't sound fun. So how do we make sure we're getting enough iron? Are all sources of iron created equal?
There are two types, heme iron and non-heme iron.
Okay.
Heme iron, found in animal products like meat, poultry, and fish, is easier for our bodies to absorb. Non-heme iron, found in plant-based foods like beans, lentils, and spinach, is a little trickier to absorb.
Okay, so meat eaters have an advantage when it comes to iron absorption.
Mm-hmm.
What about those of us who eat mostly plant-based? Are there any ways to boost iron absorption from those sources?
Absolutely. Vitamin C is your best friend if you're trying to boost iron absorption from plant-based foods.
Really?
Yep. Eating iron-rich plant foods with a good source of vitamin C can significantly increase the amount of iron your body can absorb.
So like a squeeze of lemon on my spinach salad.
Exactly. You're not just adding flavor, you're boosting your iron intake.
Love that. Double duty. Anything else about iron we should know?
Well, while iron deficiency is common, iron overload can also be a problem,
Oh,
especially for people with certain genetic conditions.
I see.
So it's always a good idea to talk to your doctor about your iron levels and see if you need to make any dietary changes.
Good advice. It seems like getting the right amount of any nutrient is key. Too much or too little can be a problem.
Exactly. Balance is essential.
Okay, so we've talked about iron. What's the next trace mineral on our list?
Let's talk about zinc. Zinc is involved in a ton of functions like immune function, wound healing, growth and development, and even our senses of taste and smell.
Wow, so zinc is involved in our immune system, how we heal, how we grow, and even how we experience the world through taste and smell. That's amazing. How does zinc relate to all the other minerals we've discussed? Are there any connections?
Well, one cool connection is that zinc is a component of over 300 enzymes in the body. Remember we talked about enzymes being those busy worker molecules?
Yeah, those are the ones that get things done.
Exactly. Well, zinc is a vital part of many of those enzymes.
Wow, so zinc is like a helper molecule for all those busy enzymes. I'm starting to see how interconnected everything is. each nutrient plays a role, and they often work together.
That's a great way to put it. It's a complex and beautiful system.
It really is. So to make sure we're getting enough of this essential mineral, what are some good food sources of zinc?
Well, oysters are actually one of the best sources of zinc.
Oysters.
But if you're not a fan of those, red meat, nuts, and beans are also good sources.
Got it. Oysters, red meat, nuts, and beans. I'm mostly plant-based in my eating, so are there any special considerations for getting enough zinc on a vegetarian or vegan diet?
That's an important point. Plant-based foods can contain compounds called phytates, which can bind to zinc and make it harder for our bodies to absorb.
Oh no. So even if I'm eating zinc-rich plant foods, I might not be getting all the zinc I need.
That's a possibility, but there's a solution.
Okay, good.
Soaking or sprouting grains and legumes can reduce phytates and improve zinc absorption.
Good to know. I'll definitely keep that in mind. So zinc deficiency is more common for those eating plant-based then?
It can be, yes. It's important to be mindful of zinc intake and consider supplements if needed, host speaker.
Got it. Soaking and sprouting, good to know. Now, can we have too much zinc?
Zinc toxicity from food is rare, but too many zinc supplements can mess with copper absorption.
So another reminder to be mindful of those supplements.
Absolutely. Always good to talk to your doctor before making big changes.
Great advice. Okay, moving on. What about iodine? I know it's good for the thyroid, but remind me what exactly the thyroid does.
The thyroid is a small gland in your neck shaped like a butterfly.
Yeah.
It produces hormones that regulate your metabolism, how your body uses energy.
Right. So iodine is important for those thyroid hormones. What happens if we don't get enough?
Iodine deficiency is a big issue globally,
Really?
especially in areas where the soil lacks iodine.
Makes sense.
It can lead to goiter, which is an enlargement of the thyroid gland.
I've heard of that. Doesn't it cause swelling in the neck?
That's right. But it can also lead to more serious problems, especially during pregnancy.
Well, no.
It can impact the baby's development, potentially causing intellectual disabilities.
Wow, so iodine is crucial for pregnant women. So where can we find this essential mineral?
Seafood is a great source.
Seafood. Okay.
But for those who don't eat a lot of seafood, iodized salt is a good option.
Right, iodized salt.
A lot of countries have actually started adding iodine to salt to help prevent deficiency.
So it's like a public health measure, like we talked about fluoride in water.
Exactly. Simple changes can have a big impact.
It's incredible how something as simple as adding iodine to salt can make such a difference. All right, what about selenium? What's that all about?
Selenium, that's a powerful antioxidant.
Okay.
It's part of an enzyme called glutathione peroxidase, which helps protect our cells from those harmful free radicals we keep talking about.
Another antioxidant superhero. They're really vital for protecting our cells.
They are. And selenium also plays a role in thyroid hormone production, working alongside iodine.
So it's a multitasker. Antioxidant and thyroid supporter. Where can we find this dynamic mineral?
Brazil nuts are a fantastic source of selenium.
Brazil nuts. Okay.
Just 1 or 2 a day can give you a good amount.
Wow. I love Brazil nuts. What about other sources?
Seafood, whole grains, and meat are also good options.
Okay, got it. But can we have too much selenium?
Yes, too much can be toxic. It's important to stick to recommended dosages, especially with supplements.
All right, as always, moderation is key. What's next on our trace mineral list?
Next is copper. It's involved in iron absorption, energy production, and even acts as an antioxidant.
Wow, copper's doing a lot. Iron absorption, energy creation, fighting those free radicals.
It also helps make collagen, which is important for healthy skin, bones, and connective tissue.
So it's protecting us from the inside out. Where do we find copper?
Organ meats, shellfish, nuts, and seeds are all good sources.
Okay, so a good mix of animal and plant sources. What about deficiencies or toxicity with copper?
Copper deficiency is pretty uncommon, but it can happen in people with digestive disorders or those taking a lot of zinc supplements, since zinc can block copper absorption.
Interesting. So those supplements can sometimes create imbalances?
They can, so it's always best to talk to your doctor before starting any new supplements.
Good reminder. Okay, what's the next trace mineral on our list?
Manganese, involved in bone health, carbohydrate metabolism, and also has antioxidant properties.
Yeah. Manganese, the bone builder, carb manager, and free radical fighter. These trace minerals really are multi-talented.
They really are. And manganese also helps with wound healing and supports the immune system.
Another multitasker. Where can we find this one?
Whole grains, nuts, leafy green vegetables, and even tea are good sources.
Okay, so those nutritional powerhouses again. Always a good idea to have plenty of those in our diets.
Could never be more.
What about any potential concerns with manganese, like deficiency or toxicity?
Manganese deficiency is pretty rare, but can happen with digestive issues or severe malnutrition.
Makes sense.
Toxicity from food is also uncommon, but it can occur with excessive intake from contaminated water or certain work environments.
Got it. Moderation and everything. Okay, what's next?
Now we've got fluoride, most famous for its role in dental health.
Fluoride. I remember fluoride toothpaste and mouthwash growing up. But how does it protect our teeth? What's the science behind that?
Fluoride makes our teeth stronger, specifically the enamel, the hard outer layer. It becomes part of the enamel structure, making it more resistant to acid attacks that cause cavities.
So it's like a shield, protecting our teeth from those harmful acids.
You got it, making them stronger and less likely to decay.
That's awesome. So besides toothpaste and mouthwash, are there any foods that contain fluoride?
The main source of fluoride is actually water. Many communities add fluoride to their water supply to help prevent cavities.
Oh, wow. So it's another public health measure, like adding iodine to salt.
Exactly. It's had a huge impact on dental health.
That's incredible. What about fluoride deficiency? Is that a common issue?
The only real issue with fluoride deficiency is a higher risk of cavities.
Okay, so fluoride's essential for healthy teeth. But what about too much fluoride? Is that a concern?
It can be, especially for kids whose teeth are still developing.
Okay.
Too much fluoride can lead to dental fluorosis, which causes white spots or streaks on the teeth.
Oh, I see. So we need to use those fluoride products as directed and be careful with how much kids are exposed to.
Exactly. Everything in moderation.
Good reminder. All right, moving on to the next trace mineral. What's next?
Chromium. This one plays a crucial role in regulating blood sugar levels.
Chromium and blood sugar. That's interesting. I know blood sugar is important for energy and overall health, but how does chromium fit into the picture?
Chromium enhances the effects of insulin, the hormone that helps our cells absorb glucose from the blood.
Right.
If there isn't enough insulin, blood sugar levels can spike.
Right. And so chromium helps to prevent that.
Exactly. It helps insulin do its job more effectively, keeping those blood sugar levels in check.
So it's like chromium is insulin's helpful sidekick.
You could say that.
I like that. So where do we find this blood sugar balancing trace mineral?
Whole grain products, broccoli, meat, and some spices are good sources.
Okay, so another reason to love whole grains. They really are packed with nutrients.
They really are.
What about chromium deficiency or toxicity? Anything to worry about there?
Deficiency is pretty rare, but can happen with digestive disorders or malnutrition. And toxicity from food is also uncommon, but can happen if you take too many supplements.
Okay, so the message is clear, balance is key.
Always.
All right, what's the final trace mineral we're covering today?
Last but not least, we have molybdenum.
Molybdenum. I've definitely heard of it, but don't know much about it. What does it do?
Molybdenum is a vital part of enzymes that break down certain amino acids. You know, those building blocks of protein.
Right, so molybdenum helps with protein metabolism, making sure those amino acids are processed properly.
Exactly. It keeps our metabolic processes running smoothly.
Very important. And where do we find this essential mineral?
Legumes, whole grains, and nuts are great sources of molybdenum.
Okay, so those nutritional superstars, once again.
They're always a good choice.
Absolutely. Wow, we covered a lot today. From those energy-boosting B vitamins to the bone-building power of calcium and phosphorus and the antioxidant action of selenium and vitamin E.
We did.
It's incredible how many vitamins and minerals our bodies need to function properly. What are some key takeaways you want our listeners to remember?
I think the main thing is that vitamins and minerals are absolutely essential for life. They're involved in practically everything our bodies do.
Right.
And while a good diet can usually provide what we need, it's still important to be aware of potential deficiencies.
Yeah.
Talk to your doctor if you're concerned or thinking about taking supplements.
Absolutely. Our bodies are incredible machines that need the right fuel to run properly.
Well said.
And as we've seen, it's all about balance. Too much or too little of anything can throw things off.
That's right. Finding that sweet spot is crucial for optimal health.
Well, I feel a lot more knowledgeable about vitamins and minerals now. It's been an amazing journey.
Me too. It's always exciting to explore how these tiny molecules play such huge roles in our health.
Ready for our final thoughts?
Absolutely. I want to leave our listeners with this thought. We talked about vitamins and minerals being crucial for energy production. But what if even slight deficiencies could be contributing to that fatigue or low energy you might be feeling?
That's a great point. Maybe something we don't always consider. It's a reminder that our diet and lifestyle choices can have a big impact on how we feel.
Exactly. Small changes can make a big difference.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, we're going to wrap up this deep dive into vitamins and minerals. Thanks for joining us. It really is amazing, how these tiny vitamins and minerals can have such a big impact on our health.
It really makes you think, doesn't it?
It does. Makes you appreciate just how complex our bodies are.
And how interconnected everything is.
Exactly. And it's a good reminder to nourish ourselves with all those nutrient-rich foods.
I know, I'll be looking at my plate a little differently now.
Me too. I'm already thinking about that big salad I'm going to make later.
Lots of colorful veggies.
Exactly. This deep dive's been so insightful. Hopefully our listeners are feeling a bit more empowered to make those healthy choices.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power when it comes to nutrition.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this adventure into the world of vitamins and minerals. Until next time, stay curious and keep learning.